Hello there, it's been a while. I had my friend check out my video channel recently, and he asked me if I had an explanation of what a golden age is. I think I did, but it might have ended up being one of the practice videos that didn't make it to the channel. I've talked about it here and there, but not dedicated an entire video to it. So we'll start with the textbook version, the definition of what a golden age is. A golden age is a peak period of prosperity, peace, and cultural achievement in a society's history, originating from Greek mythology's idyllic first age of humankind, or first known one at least, recorded. It signifies a time of great flourishing like the Han Dynasty in China or Italian Renaissance, but also applies to specific areas like Hollywood's studio system or literary periods like Latin literature's golden age. So it's kind of like a metaphorical version of gold itself, where gold it has value not only monetarily, but it contains healing properties as a metal, which is why a lot of times it ends up with people who have more money already to hoard it more. So yeah, it's metaphorical in that I've noticed, like, for example, like with the arts, people get an enriched state of being because more people are concerning themselves with craftsmanship, what is actually healthy, what is good taste. Often what gets lost within, I find with the art world of today is we've kind of lost the ability to gauge what is good taste, what is healthy for us, especially when we have major entities, corporate entities that are kind of hoarding the wealth, sort of like leech behavior, because they're not concerned with craftsmanship or elevated states of consciousness. Or maybe they're just not as familiar, or it's just not written into like the DNA of their family, you know? So what are my particular thoughts about Golden Age? To start it very simply, I believe that everyone has a connection to the creator to the point where they are the creator, but also the same thing with Golden Age. So a way of illustrating the creator, what I consider the creator is, the creator is like a giant body, and we are all little cells that comprise that body. So we are all the creator, and we have access to the full creator as well, even though we ourselves cannot be entirely all of it. So we are the creator and not the creator all at the same time. And Golden Age, I think, is the exact same way. We have a connection to an most idealized, peaceful prosperity way of living and of existence that seems to kind of harmonize all consciousness, as well as our own personal, particular individual perspectives of the world. It's like where they all kind of I don't know, like a giant weird multi-dimensional object of mirrors that kind of reflects itself back to each other. And it's the same way that smiling is contagious, and it doesn't deplete from the soul. It gives. It has a giving effect. So I believe that Golden Age is the most important part is within, because before gold is even found physically or metaphorically, like in art, someone inside concerns themselves with finding such, hopefully with pure motives. So I believe that we all have necessary keys to the Golden Age, and we all possess very unique ones. People might lose their connection to their soul to the point where they might even seem like they don't have a soul. And in doing so, it can seem like a person there's no possible way they could have a key to the Golden Age, that only that they would have. Another thought I've had is that we're kind of been put into a world of forgetting when depression or hardships seem to dominate, where the cost of living is not reasonable. There are, maybe people really hoarding the riches and the gold and the prosperity for themselves so much that people would rather anesthetize their souls with drinking or drugs or all things like drinking and drugs can have good effects, but when a person wants to overwhelm their system so that they turn into a state of forgetting about the horrors of the world, then we've got a negative feedback loop where golden age just can't occur because multiple keys for the golden age to show up don't actually converge and collaborate with each other. So that's kind of the personal idea of golden age. Another thought that came to mind with this subject is, why hasn't golden age been sustainable, right? So my thoughts on that are, there are certain trickster entities, certain beings, what some people call demons. There's a lot of other species, names we could call them, but whoever they are, they don't like the idea that they aren't the head god. They actually would prefer to create, even though the creator gave their creative power generously to all beings, some people would rather prefer to see themselves as the head god. And ironically, in doing so, they actually lose some of their creative abilities, their connection to source, in turning creation into sort of a hierarchical structure where you're like magic hoarding, art hoarding, gold hoarding, taking all of the riches for yourself and not giving to others. Somehow you lose access to generosity of the soul, generosity of golden age, and you're shrinking it to those around you as well, just like you're shrinking inside your own soul. So I believe that a tipping point might occur if we could simply, it's not simple because we've got trickster entities suppressing golden age from becoming sustainable, or tricking people within it to thinking that they have to hoard gold or they have to get into a warfare state, essentially destroying. Since we're all creators, and if I destroy you as a creator, I'm destroying an aspect of myself, and I'm also killing a key to the golden age. And it might take some years for it to show up again in another soul or another physical body. The tipping point, what did I mean by that? Sort of like, I meant that as a good thing. Like, how do we make golden age sustainable? If we can ultimately show the majority of the beings in this world that being a trickster tricks yourself, it tricks all of us out of golden age. If we can somehow make it, I don't want to say the norm, because there's something magical about creating a golden age. It's a liveliness, an energy, a vibe, something that you want to, like, when you've experienced it, the rest of the world just seems sterile and stagnant without it. You don't want to go back to a world where this magic, this excitement, this thrill of purpose is your everyday reality. If we were able to zero in on that, no matter how much someone tried to steal from us, and not embody that stealing energy, then it can become sustainable. And typically what happens with there's a reason why I think trickster entities tend to target people who have riches already, because it doesn't take much manipulation to do so. It's kind of the most effective. Okay, this person already has the most riches, so they can hoard riches. I'm going to make it seem like, deal with the devil, as they say. It doesn't necessarily have to be the devil, it's just the energy behind that concept. You trick someone into thinking that they're actually becoming more powerful and that they are doing something good for the greater everyone, but you're actually, a demon or a trickster entity might be tricking this person to thinking that that's what's happening, but they're actually just using them as a pawn, and they're the god of the world, that they choose to become, but stealing the God of the world from individuals. So this is all my own theory. I have no way of proving this, but it's the only way I can make sense out of the world, in that why do people choose such a tasteless, particle board, plastic made existence over a golden age? It's because they've been tricked into using their creative powers for things that are unsustainable, telling themselves that cheaper is better rather than long-lasting and flourishing is the way, or that we should care for others. So, if the poor or the lower class are in crime and going through insanity, can't afford to, no, barely anyone can actually afford to own their own house now, at least in America. That's where I am. If you create that scenario and then just treat the lower class as if they are trash and they just aren't gods of the world, they're having difficulty getting their basic needs. Like I mentioned in another video that, I don't know whether I did or not, Maslow's hierarchy, you got hierarchy of needs. So that works in simply that you're not going to be concerned with elevated states of consciousness if you can't even find food to eat or being shelter from the cold. Now, that makes sense in terms of needs, but I think a trick that Maslow's hierarchy has kind of puts into our brain without really realizing it is that the world, that hierarchy is the end-all be-all, or that needs are the end-all be-all, when in actuality the liveliness of the soul, the top of Maslow's hierarchy, I don't know if some of you might not be familiar, it has like the base needs of like survival at the bottom, then shelter, I'm probably I'm probably missing something, but then there's like love, and then elevated states of consciousness, a rich state at the top. The problem is, if you don't value the entire thing, what good is survival without feeling like you're alive, right? If your whole life is survival, you might forget what liveliness or golden age even is, especially if you've never experienced it. And if the world is in such a hoarding state of magic, hoarding gold, so many people don't know what that is, so they're in a feedback loop, reoccurring as if they are the trash of the world and that they will never actually bring anything good to it because that's been their whole lives. So if we were to use our gold, both literally and metaphysically, abstractly, our arts, our pureness, our love, to actually show people, yes, we are concerned not only with this being in our own lives, but we want to enrich the entire world. If we embodied that, it would become normal for life to be lively and exciting. Okay, so that well covers why golden ages haven't materialized in a sustainable way. Is there any last thoughts I have here? Well, I think it's a way in which when we link the personal to the universal, we are accessing the Anima Mundi. I said that in other videos. We're accessing the Creator. We're accessing our personal world with the universal. And most great works of art do that. They take the eccentricities of a person. I've often said a great artist is someone who mines their eccentricities like gold, and they give accessibility to it for an everyday average Joe to care about it. So the personal weird becomes the universal themes of everyday existence. You give someone access to why would you care about the eccentricities of the world, And it's usually, that's a fire formula for making someone care about everything, right? And I think that's what a lot of artists are. They care about all the little details, not in a way where they're nitpicking. Like we tend to have taken film criticism or criticism and knowledge to such a huge degree. We've kind of forgotten we're doing this to actually really enjoy this stuff. We're trying to look at the devil is not in the details. Like, it can be, sure, because of the intention behind maybe a deal with the devil, but the Anima Mundi for me is the opposite of the devil is in the details, in that the micro and the macro behave similarly. You can make those little details into something that's exciting rather than like, oh no, I got something wrong. All of a sudden you're excited to experience the mysteries of the world. Not knowing is actually charming and childlike. I had one more thought about reincarnation before I end this. About the world of forgetting. I think that many of us are reincarnated souls. This is a theory. And we lose access to our reincarnated self, our childlike wonder, who is most likely to be attuned to its reincarnated state, or its other lifetimes. We lose it because we're in these worlds of forgetting, where we anesthetize the soul. So if we were in a world of remembrance, we want to remember the beautiful things about Golden Age. We want to remember elevated states of consciousness, artistic experiences, our favorite movies, our favorite art, our favorite bands. We want to remember those things, and that's why I've referred to prodigies as simply being someone who probably remembers their reincarnated self more. Okay, here's the other point I was getting around to. I had to preface that, is that a reincarnated soul who we might be reincarnated over and over again. Have you ever experienced a work of art or a film or something that you loved it so much you wish you could just see it again as if you've never seen it before? Well, that might be the reason for reincarnation, is to kind of keep a liveliness or a fresh perspective on the same energy and to approach it in ways we never have before. So the reincarnation process could actually be a wonderful thing where we're not afraid of death anymore, but we actually can trust a society that is in the golden age, that is sustainable, so that when we come back and re-enter another flesh suit, another human body, we are more likely to remember it and actually progress further than we did before, rather than us losing all this knowledge and then not passing it down to other generations. But what we've created is a world where we have difficulty even remembering our reincarnated self because we're in a world of forgetting, of depression, of worrying about whether our purpose is going to amount to anything because there's so many energies of destroying, forgetfulness, and stealing. Well, that is all for now. I think that's all I have to say intellectually about that. That's kind of my perspective on it. There's more, but those are the basics. Let me know what you think about all this. It's okay if you don't believe in reincarnation or a creator or anything like that. This is all my hypothesis. I'm not saying it's a fact, but it makes the most sense out of this strange world that we've all chose to be in and sort of not chosen to be in at the same time. I kind of just see it like we got multiple creators all creating together, and they all vastly disagree with each other, and we're tuned into the disagreements more than we are into like what is excellence, what is a golden age, how we make our co-creation truly works, where everyone gets to represent their individuality, but also allows for everyone else to do the same without crossing boundaries. Yeah. Anyway, have a lovely day. I hope you enjoyed that. Take care.